212 BC, a Roman fleet sails toward the harbor of Syracuse, confident, undefeated, ready for an easy siege. Within hours, ships start catching fire, with no arrows in the sky, no
sin piedras de
catapult
catapulta,
stones,
sin arma
no
visible en
visible
absoluto.
weapon at all. Just sunlight. By 212 BC, Archimedes wasn't just a mathematician. He was Syracuse's chief military engineer, and Rome had already learned to fear him.
Sus
His
catapultas tenían un
catapults had a
alcance más
longer
largo que
range
cualquier
than
otra cosa.
anything the Romans had faced. His
Sus grúas, según
cranes,
relatos
according to
antiguos,
ancient accounts, could reach over the city walls
y
and
levantar
physically
físicamente
lift enemy
barcos enemigos
ships
fuera
out
del
of
agua.
the water. His catapults weren't standard siege equipment either. Archimedes reportedly
Supuestamente diseñó
engineered
máquinas de rango
variable
variable.
range machines that
Eso
could be
podría recalibrarse a
recalibrated
mitad de la
mid-battle,
batalla,
hitting Roman ships at long range as they approached, then adjusting to hit closer targets as the fleet got near the walls. A level of tactical flexibility no other engineer of the era had achieved. General Marcellus commanded a fleet of 60 quinquiremes and a land army determined to take Syracuse quickly. Instead, the siege dragged on for 2 years. Roman soldiers reportedly grew so terrified of anything appearing over the walls that they'd break formation at the mere sight of a rope or a beam. Syracuse mattered enormously to Rome's Second Punic War strategy. It sat on a critical grain route, and if it fell quickly, Rome could redirect resources toward Hannibal, who was still tearing through Italy at the time. Every month the siege dragged on was a month Rome couldn't fully commit elsewhere. If you like stories where ancient technology sounds too advanced to be real, you'll want to see how this one ends. Subscribe, because what happens next split historians for 2,000 years. The mirror weapon itself doesn't appear in the earliest accounts of the siege. Polybius and Livy, writing closer to the actual events, describe Archimedes' catapults and cranes in detail, but say nothing about burning mirrors. The burning mirror story shows up centuries later in the writings of Byzantine scholars like Anthemius of Tralles and John Zonaras, describing an array of mirrors angled to focus sunlight onto Roman ships and set them ablaze from a distance. Historians still debate whether this detail is a real historical event or a later legend that grew in the retelling, or something in between. A real device that got exaggerated over 600 years of retelling. Here's the science behind the legend. A curved or angled array of polished bronze mirrors can focus scattered sunlight into a single concentrated point. The same principle behind a magnifying glass burning a hole in paper, just at a much larger scale. The challenge isn't the physics, it's the scale. To ignite wood at any real distance, you'd need dozens of mirrors, precisely aimed, held perfectly still, on a moving ship, aimed at a moving target, on choppy water, for minutes at a time. In 2005, the show MythBusters tried to recreate the weapon using modern mirrors and a stationary wooden boat. Even under ideal, unmoving conditions, they only managed to create smoke and slight charring, not the raging fire ancient accounts describe. Later that same year,
un grupo de estudiantes del MIT construyó su propia
versión. Built their own version, using 127 one-foot square mirror tiles, aimed at a mock wooden ship from 100 feet away. It took about 10 minutes of dead still, perfectly aimed sunlight, but the wood did catch fire. The catch: their target ship wasn't rocking on waves,
No
wasn't
estaba siendo
under
atacado
attack,
y no estaba
and
tratando
wasn't
de
trying
maniobrar.
to maneuver away from a burning reflection
Lo
pointed
apuntó.
at it. A real Roman warship, under fire from catapults and full of panicking sailors, would
Hubiera
have been
sido un
a
objetivo
much
mucho más
harder
difícil de
target to
mantener
hold
estable.
steady light on for 10 straight minutes. Plutarch, writing generations later, described Roman soldiers as
Tan
so
completamente
thoroughly
desconcertado por los
unnerved
inventos
by
de Arquímedes
Archimedes' inventions that if they merely saw a rope or a piece of wood project from the wall, they would
Ellos
cry
gritarían:
out that Archimedes was inventing some new machine and turn to flee. So historians propose a different, more modest version of the legend. Not fire from mirrors at all, but
pero
a
un arma de
coordinated
deslumbramiento
glare
coordinada.
weapon. Dozens of mirrors flashing blinding light directly into the eyes of Roman helmsmen and archers, disorienting the fleet rather than burning it. There's also a practical detail favoring the
favoreciendo la
glare
teoría del
theory.
resplandor,
Bronze mirrors in antiquity, while
mientras que los
polished,
pulidos no eran
weren't
tan
nearly as
reflectantes como los
reflective as
modernos.
modern
Espejos con
glass-backed
respaldo
mirrors.
de vidrio.
A blinding flash across a fleet's line of sight required far less optical precision than a beam
Lo
hot enough
suficientemente
to
caliente
ignite
como para
damp,
encender madera húmeda
sea-soaked
empapada en el
wood.
mar.
Whatever the mirrors actually did, they weren't Archimedes' only weapon at Syracuse. His giant grappling cranes, sometimes called the Claw of Archimedes, reportedly hooked the bows of Roman ships and either flipped them or dropped them from height directly into the harbor.
En
In
1999,
1999,
un
a
equipo de
documentary
documentales
team
construyó
built a
un,
working scale replica of the Claw
usando
using
materiales
period-appropriate
apropiados para el periodo.
materials and a wooden ship hull as the target. The mechanism worked exactly as described,
Con éxito.
successfully lifting and capsizing a full-sized mock ship. That single successful reconstruction is part of why most historians treat the Claw as
Mucho más
far
creíble
more
que los
credible
espejos.
than the mirrors. The mechanics are simple, the physics are well understood, and multiple ancient sources describe it independently, close to the actual events. Syracuse eventually fell in 212 BC, not to any weapon, but to a night assault during a distracted festival. Marcellus,
Que
who
para
by
entonces
then
respetaba
deeply
profundamente la
respected his
ingeniería de
opponent's
su oponente,
engineering, gave strict orders that Archimedes be captured alive, not killed. According to legend, a
un soldado
Roman
romano
soldier
encontró a
found
Arquímedes en su
Archimedes
patio.
in his courtyard, absorbed in a geometry problem drawn in the sand, and killed him anyway when the old man refused to stop working before finishing his proof. Maybe that's the detail that matters most. Whether the mirrors set actual fires
O
or just
simplemente cegó
blinded
una
a
flota con
fleet
luz
with
reflejada.
reflected light. The deeper legend isn't really about the weapon at all. It's about a mind Rome
Lo
feared enough
suficientemente
to
temido como para
besiege
asediar
a
una ciudad
city for
durante 2
2
años.
years, and respected enough to try, too late, to save. The underlying physics never went away. Modern
Modernas plantas de
concentrated
energía
solar
solar
power
concentrada.
plants use the exact same principle at massive scale. Thousands of mirrors, called heliostats, all angled to focus sunlight onto a single tower,
Generando
generating enough
suficiente calor
heat
para
to
hervir
boil
agua.
water and drive a turbine. The Ivanpah solar plant in California uses over 170,000 mirrors for exactly this purpose. And early observers reported birds
De vez en cuando
occasionally
se
catching
incendia a mitad
fire
de vuelo.
mid-flight when they crossed the concentrated beam. A
Un eco
modern
moderno del
echo
mismo
of the
efecto.
very effect Archimedes may have been chasing 23 centuries earlier. Syracuse today is a quiet coastal city, its harbor calm, its ancient walls mostly gone or absorbed into newer construction.
Turistas.
Tourists photograph the ruins of the Greek theater nearby,
La
most
mayoría no
having
tiene ni
no
idea.
idea an old man's mirrors or his geometry nearly held off Rome itself. Whether it was fire or just blinding light, the lesson traveled further than the weapon ever did. Sometimes the most dangerous thing on a battlefield isn't the biggest army.
Es la
It's the
única mente que
one
Roma no
mind
pudo
Rome
superar.
couldn't outthink. Next, we're looking at a machine built around 100 BC that could predict solar eclipses 1,300 years before anything like it existed again. Watch it now.